Hi everyone, it's Carrie Politzer, Jazz Lessons with the Licktionary, a method for learning jazz vocabulary for beginners. What is jazz vocabulary? We're going to talk about bebop, which was the first kind of modern jazz. Bebop improvisation is a language based on scales, modes, arpeggios, and chromatic notes or approach tones with syncopation. These elements are the grammar of bebop, but you need phrases to speak the language. You can't just sit down and play scales and modes over the right chord changes and necessarily have it sound like jazz. Later styles of jazz, like modal jazz and hard bop, are built upon the process of bebop improvisation. How do we develop jazz vocabulary? It might seem intimidating in the beginning. It's always important to do a lot of listening. Transcribing solos and especially playing along with them can be very helpful. But it takes a long time to absorb and internalize the vocabulary from a solo. So I propose that you develop a Licktionary by mining the material from the jazz greats. We're going to start with pianist John Lewis, who led the famous modern jazz quartet. He began his career in the bebop era with Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. His playing style is very economical and melodic. He uses a lot of eighth notes and space and not a ton of 16th notes or triplets. His style is ideal for learning basic bebop vocabulary and starting a Licktionary. So let's hear a little bit of John Lewis playing over a blues. This is over Afternoon in Paris. It's Bag's Groove in 1956. This is John Lewis's solo over Bag's Groove. I've transcribed all three choruses. As you can see, it's all based on dominant sevenths, and you can find this at my website, carriepolitzer.com, for free download. So how do we use this to create a Licktionary? Well, take out your notebook of music paper, write dominant 7 at the top of the page, print out a simple transcribed solo like Bag's Groove. A blues is ideal to start with because you're focusing on just one chord, the dominant 7th. So go ahead and circle a few licks that you would like to integrate into your vocabulary. Put the licks into your notebook, arranging them by the scale degree of the starting note, so root, third, seventh, etc. It's really important to arrange the licks by scale degree because once you start transposing the licks into every key, you might get confused about where to start with your first note. So I've gone ahead and circled some licks that I like on Bag's Groove. I've created a Licktionary with these licks and arranged them by root, third, fifth, and sixth. So you don't have to start on the downbeat all the time, of course. As you see later on in this page, I've gone ahead and put in some licks that start on offbeats. So when you're going to work with the Licktionary, you should practice these licks in every key, and you should plug them into various tunes, into the appropriate chord changes, because you want to start making this language a part of you. The dominant 7 can be used for entire blues and rhythm section forms, so it's a really handy chord to master. But after you finish with the dominant 7th, you'll want to make pages for other chords like major 7, minor 7, flat 5, diminished, etc. And then eventually you're going to want to go ahead and transcribe some licks over different chord progressions like the 2-5-1. So that you don't sound like you're imitating just one player, you can start adding solos from other improvisers and putting licks into your Licktionary. You can start with players like Chet Baker, Miles Davis, and Duke Jordan, people that play in a very economical way. So if you have any questions about this process, you can always go to my website, carriepolitzer.com, and shoot me an email. Thank you for listening to this latest installment of Carrie Politzer Jazz Lessons.